Hey guys, my name is Aditri Srivastava and I'm a second year student from JP Institute of Information and Technology. So today we will be covering CSS Basics concept. Like CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. It describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on the screen. Right, like in the yesterday's workshop, you all created a form. Now let me share the screen first. Yes, so in yesterday's code, it would be your her screen output, but it doesn't looks good. There is no text color, font family, and it doesn't looks good. And mostly you all see the sites; they are very colorful, and their UI is very nice to see. So we will begin with CSS. So this is a CSS rule set. It consists of a declaration block. Like you must have studied in your C languages, as we all start from int main, and there is this curly braces which defines the declaration block. In this block, we put to the properties. Like color here is the property and its value is blue. And the semicolon specifies that it is the end of this value. Now, what is H1? H1 is the selector here. Uh, there are many tags covered in the yesterday's session, like here input tag, form tag, H1 tag, H2 tag, and also we will be covering. तो H1 क्या है यहाँ पे? H1 एक सिलेक्टर की तरह काम कर रहा है और जो हम टैग्स वाले जो नॉर्मल टैग्स होते हैं इनको हम ग्रुपिंग सिलेक्टर्स बोलते हैं. लाइक जितने H1 होंगे तुम्हारे इस वेब पेज में, इस HTML पेज में, उन सब में वो स्टाइल्स अप्लाई हो जाएंगे एक साथ. तो हम ये CSS अप्लाई कैसे कर सकते हैं? Now, there are three types of applying CSS. The first way is we can apply inline CSS. So, for example, here is a button in our web page. So, let's change the background color of this. So, the change is reflected, right? You can easily add the styles in your HTML page only. This is known as inline CSS because we have applied CSS where the tag is in the place of the tag only. Now, yesterday Simran ma'am told you about the style tag. So, this style tag, this is known as internal CSS. Like we don't have paragraphs and div and span. Like for example, I apply background color to whole body. Right. So so the changes are reflected here also. So this kind of thing where we apply the CSS in our HTML file only, this is known as internal CSS. You all can add many other things also, like for example, let's insert a H1 here.
Ma'am, what is the use of this span?
There is no use of this. Is yesterday. So, like if I want color of H1 to be crimson, right? So the change is reflected here. But this is not a good way to implement CSS. So what is a good way? We make a separate CSS file in our folder only. So let me name it styles.css and just copy the whole content of. Okay, but do you guys think that the changes that we have in our styles.css file, will it be reflected in this
No,
page?
ma'am.
Yeah. So why,
No, ma'am.
can anybody tell how to do this?
Ma'am, we have to link the HTML and the CSS uh, files.
Yes, you are right, Shubham. So let's do it. So yes, now it is reflected the changes. We use the styles.css file, and we use like styles.css file has an extension of .css, like we have .html, .py for Python files. Okay, and here link rel.stylesheet, it specifies the relation between this HTML file and the CSS file. Okay, so now let's talk about some other selectors also. Oh, what if I have paragraph tags? Does anybody know about Lorem Ipsum text? In VS Code, there is a nice shortcut when we want just random text. You just type Lorem and the length of the text. Like I want 20 and put enter. It will give you a paragraph. See? So let me copy this. So when I apply style to this paragraph, then suppose the text color is blue, right? So, but all the paragraph tags have the same text color, that, that is blue, right? But what if I want only two paragraph colors to have this text color, or only the specific one paragraph tag? Does anybody know how we can do this? Okay, so we can make the use of classes and IDs. Classes means we can give a same class to many paragraph tags, like class for text color and class text color, and we access a class in the style in the CSS file by a dot. So now if I put, so only these two paragraphs will be having the blue color, which have the class text color. So what basically is a class attribute? It is used to point out a specific tag or a specific element in an HTML file. We will be using these classes in our JavaScript files also in the later on sessions. And there is another type of selector which is called ID. What is the main difference between class and ID is that classes can be used many times in a single web page, but ID can be used only once. So if I give this I, and how we access ID in a styles.css in .css file is by using hash. Okay, so is there any doubt in IDs and classes? So,
Ma'am, can you repeat that? Ma'am, how did you wrote the paragraph with a single command?
okay, you are talking about Lorem X. Just to see if I added this paragraph tag and just type LOREM and press enter. And if you want a specific length like 10, and you will see here in VS Code and emit abbreviation and press enter, you will get that. Have you got this? What's up?
Ma'am, what is
Yes,
emit?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, so moving ahead, and like these are the colors like I'm using directly from the suggestions which I'm getting from the VS Code. You all can use a color picker. Color picker. That just type color picker in Google, and you will see this. So you want a specific color, and colors can be described. We can write the background color of the color of text in three formats. This is hex format, this is RGB, where the first value stands how much the red is there in the color, how much, then second value is for how much is there green, and the third value is for the amount of blue. So let's choose a color, right? And just copy it. You can just copy it. Okay. So you can use the background color in three formats: a valid color name, a hex value, or an RGB value. So next, let's play around with the background. So I will give you this link of a background image. You can download this image just from site. So I already have this image downloaded in my folder. This I have renamed it pic.jpg file. So how can I include it? It is background image URL and then pic.jpg. So you can see here that this is not the exact image which we were looking for. The image was like this. It was pretty good, and what we are seeing is just this portion of the image in our web page, right? So what is happening, the image is stretching itself, so we can put background size cover. So here you get the complete image directly, but yes, sometimes it is possible that the image repeat itself. So for that what we do is background repeat, no repeat. Cool. So next we will be moving on to the
Please repeat that repeat concept. Repeat, no repeat.
okay. So sometimes what happens is like this image repeat itself in the whole web page. For example, let's do it contain. See, here the image is repeating itself. So what we can do here, we can do background image no repeat. Background repeat, no repeat. So I have used the contain tag here. That's why we are getting this image in this window only. So let's change it back to cover once again. Like we sometimes want that the image should be repeated, like inside in some, when we use images similar to patterns, right? And so we want images to be repeated, but in this case I don't want the image to be repeated. Next we will study about width of the image, max width, and let's add.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैम, मैम जो ये पिक हमें लगानी है इसका बस हमें नेम ही लिखना है ना, जो उन सभी नेम्स हमने सेव कर रखा है पीसी में.
Just remember that you should have the image saved in the same folder.
सेम फोल्डर, क्योंकि मैंने मेरे डाउनलोड्स फोल्डर में और पिक आ नहीं रही है वेबसाइट पे.
Just copy the path of that image, or just cut the image from that downloads folder to your folder. So let's talk about width, max width property. Let me take a div tag. And let's give it a class of div1. And just lorem roles. Div1. So you can specify the height and the width of any paragraph tag, div tag, image tag, or anything, right? So let's do width 500 pixel. And height 200 pixel. So you can see here this paragraph has a specific height and the width in my web page. And do you guys know about how we can inspect the elements? Just right click and then inspect. So here you will see that what are the, like this is my div1 which is getting this is occupying this much height, right? Height and width. If I want, I can just switch off here and see the visible changes. See. So for now, let me close this. Okay, and there is a max width property. What is the difference between width and max width? We can discover it by let's have the same copy the same div and change the class to div2. So here I will apply
Repeat, no repeat.
so here we will apply div2 to max width 500 pixel, and let's give it a border. What is a border? Here here we will put this border width, border type solid, can be dashed or anything, and let's give it a color, like I have given it red here. So same height and same width. So let's reduce the height.
Ma'am, can you explain us div?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Ma'am, can you explain div?
Div is a tag just like paragraph tag. And like we will cover up at the end of this session, right? It is just for the second, just remember that it is like a paragraph tag, like we use the paragraph tag. It is just same like that only. Okay, so there is a difference there is, you can see there is no difference seen between width and max width here, but when I reduce my window, see here the we this division where max width is not applied, right? We need, it doesn't changes automatically. This border doesn't end itself, while the max width one changes itself. And uh, so the max width has a, it will max width in this situation, it improves the browser handling of with the small windows. It is important when we use this site on our phones or any tablets, where here we need to make the sites responsive, so this thing comes in use there. So next,
Okay, ma'am.
so next property is the overflow property. What does overflow property means? Like when you guys must have noticed when I just reduce the height of this div tag, like it was overlapping. Or let me just increase the content. So you can see that the content is overflowing from this border, but we don't want this. So this is known as overflow property. What we can do is, it is by default it is set to overflow visible. But what we want, we can hide this to hidden property.
Ma'am, and how can we bring the whole div within the center of the site in the middle?
Okay, just a second. here you can see that this paragraph tag is overflowing from this boundary line. So I don't want this. So what we can do is we can set this overflow property to hidden, and now it is just inside this tag, inside this background tag. But what about the content? So what we can do is we can set it to auto, and now we get a scrolling bar. So it is useful when we want and the scrolling bar here is added only in the y, but if it is needed in the x direction, then it can be also, then it the auto property automatically adds it to the you can see, you will be seeing it at the bottom of this paragraph tag. And you can also add the scroll bar like overflow x and overflow y visible. So let it be auto only. So next is the float property. Float property, what it does, it is like you all must be familiar with the list. So let's make a list here and li tags, like let me keep it Google, Yahoo, and W3 schools. Right. So here you can see I'm getting this in the form of list. But what if I want that Google should be beside Yahoo and W3? It should be horizontally aligned. So what I can do is just apply CSS to li tags float is equals left. So now you can see it is in the form of list. It is floating. It is in the form that all the contents are beside each other. Google is left to Yahoo and Yahoo is left to W3 schools. So let me just switch off. We can, here are bullets coming, so we can put the list style to none, and let's give a spacing to this. So now we can see that it has been floated and Google besides Yahoo besides its W3 schools. So it is useful when we add nav bar. What are nav bars? You must have seen in different sites. It's the top column which has home, index, pages. So we use this in that cases. So now moving ahead, let's talk about linear gradient. What you all can do is add gradient colors, like from, let's try it, background image is linear gradient from red to yellow. See, you can see that it starts from the red and slowly it is a nice effect. By default it is always from top to bottom. So what we can do to get it from left to right, we can just add here to right, and then you can see it starts from left, and then at the end it is yellow in color. We can also add it diagonally. For this we can write to bottom right. So from here it is moving in this direction, and to red from going in red to yellow. So, and also we can use multiple colors. It is not like we can use only two colors, red. We can use red. Uh, let's take violet. So here we can do red, yellow, and at the end I'm getting violet. You can create a beautiful rainbow effect using the gradient, like red, orange, yellow, and many, all the seven colors. So here is red, yellow, red, orange, yellow, and violet. So now let's use the transparency effects. I have not told you, like in RGB, when we use RGB colors, we can also use RGBA. There is RGBA, and A stands for the transparency in the colors. For example, we have this color like this dark blue, and let's copy its RGB code.
Ma'am, for background image, is there any necessary that we should apply first any image in the background, or we can do without that also?
Like you can go without go also.
Ma'am, as I have not inserted any image in the background, and without that, there is no effect with linear gradient. It is not visible in my form.
No, it is not possible. Like I have commented hid my image while I was using this linear gradient method. Like
So, matlab, any image should be compulsory. It should be in the background itself.
no, it is not necessary. In this case, when I comment out the code, there is no background. You are sure you have written the correct code?
Yes, ma'am, it's correct.
Then how is it possible? Like just check it once again.
See, in yours also, it is not linear gradient now.
It is not linear gradient because okay, just a second, I will tell you. See, this is linear gradient.
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
I was trying to show you the effect of. Now I'm trying to show you the effect of this opacity effect or the transparency. Like this is the color, and let's. So you can see the changes either from the opacity. When the transparency is 0.5, the color lightens itself. So for now, let's stick to linear gradient only. it is linear gradient, but now we can also, there is also an effect called radial gradient. Now what is radial gradient? Sorry. So let's apply it in our forms. Background image, radial gradient, so here you can see that it is radial gradient, and by default the shape in radial gradient is an ellipse, while you can change this color to change its shape to circle. Now it is circle. And also what we can do is we can specify the percentages of the colors. Like for example, I want red only 5%, yellow 20%, and green the remaining one. So you can see it will take the space according to the percentages specified by you. Now let's move ahead to text shadow. Let's apply text shadow to h1. What is this text shadow? 2 pixel, 2 pixel. What is this 2 pixel, 2 pixel? This is the horizontal shadow, horizontal and vertical shadow. If you give only one value, you will see no effect will be there in the h1. And then you can specify the color. Let's take white only. So here you can see text shadow. You can just bring the text into the center. Okay, just wait. Text line center. Cool. Now it will be coming to the center. Now what I was saying is, if you give only one value, you will see no effect will be there. You won't be seeing any shadow effect, because you need to specify both the horizontal and the vertical shadows. So you can also give a blur effect. So let's give 5 pixel blur effect to this. So here you can see there is a slight glowing text, and there's, oh, you must, let's make it a little good. Change it to white, and you can apply multiple shadows to this. Now let's see the example of multiple shadows. Let's do it 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 2 pixel, and black. So this is my first shadow effect.
Excuse me. Ma'am, in the text shadow, ma'am, what is the third? Ma'am, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, 2 pixel. Ma'am, what is the two
This
pixel?
is the smear effect.
Okay.
So where was I? The we were giving multiple shadow colors. So let's give the second shadow 25 pixel and let it be blue. And third shadow 0 0. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating the giving color to the blur effect here in the background. So you can see there are three types of shadow applied to this. First it will be black, then blue, and then blue. Similarly, given box shadow property. What is box shadow? Like we have a div tag here. Class. Like it would be header and give it some date 28 and then of h1 and then like what I'm trying to do is create a calendar type of card here. Div class content paragraph. It is November 28th 2020. So here you are seeing this like this, and here you can see this is all the effects that we applied to this h1 are also applied to this h1. So we were not wanting this. So let's apply css in this dot card. In our card class, let's apply width 250 pixel, then box shadow 4 pixel, 8 pixel, gradient, and just give it a transparency effect of 0.2, and the second shadow of 0 6 pixels, 20 pixels, and RGBA 0.2, or let's just decrease it to 0.18. So here you can see a card like structure. We will just modify it a little more. Let's apply, we had the class, let's apply now, modify now header class dot header. So here let's put a background color which can be,
Ma'am, where is the box shadow applied? How to apply it and where?
you can see it here, right? There's a shadow apply. I I'm not able to see the shadow here. So let's give it a background color, and the text color, let it be white only. And you can also specify the font size, which can be 35 pixels. And now let's see the changes. So now the header part of our card is ready. Now let's play with the content part. Now for the content one, we can give a color or no color. Let's give it a background color, or just let it be. So there is no use of this content class here. So you can see it is a calendar type of thing. We can just change this background color to something fancy to make it really look like a calendar. So let's move ahead with Sudo classes. What are Sudo classes is, when I just hover over this my h1, like Sudo classes are the classes which are used to define a special state of an element. For example, it can be used to style an element when a mouse when the user mouses over it, or to style the visited and the unvisited sites differently. So let's do the hover, which is like, I want, when I hover this h1, its color changes to violet. So see, whenever I am hovering over this is h1 tag, it color changes. You can also change that alignment also. Whenever you see, whenever I am hovering over this h1, and it changes its position as well as its color. So now moving ahead, let's talk about the display content. Now you see that this h1 is occupying this whole some. So let's add some more hood and let's check this magic of hover. Let's add a paragraph tag where I'm writing I am here. Oh, sorry. And inside a div tag which says over me. And let's give it a class also. Class so it is click on and then we will write hover. And what else I can do is we can hide the content also when we want. Like if I put here class hidden, and in the hidden class what we can do is display to none. What does it do is, let's did see what does it do first. See, my div tag is not here, but when I change it to block here, you will be able to see this. So let's change it to none, and then whenever we hover over this text, hover over do, it will display it back to block. I don't know why it is not working, but you all can try. It must work. Okay, so we are applying hover here on the hidden class, right? So dot hidden. Okay, let's leave it for the while. I don't know why it is not working. So, are there any doubts?
Aditya ma'am, someone wants to know the properties of card.
Yes, just a second.
Guys, if you have any doubt, you can ask now, or either you can ping us on the WhatsApp group.
Ma'am, can you show the properties of box shadow?
Yep.
It's in the card.
Yeah, I've opened the cards. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am. Just a second. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, is there any other doubt? Or like we should end with the session now?
Oh, okay, guys, you can just wait for a minute. Let me tell you, whatever the properties Aditri ma'am just explained you in the today's class. So what you have to do is you just added that in your Git repository, okay? So that we can see the changes in the link that you have provided us in the Google form. If you have any problem in pushing the code to your Git repository, do let us know.
Ma'am, can we make the changes of our own?
Yeah, you can make any changes, but
Yeah, sure, you can. It is recommended that you make the changes and make the UI more better and add more properties.
yes. Like we
Okay.
just want you to use these properties, that is it.
And someone was asking about how we can center the div, right?
Yes, of course.
You can do this using adding padding and margin to your div tag, which we'll be covering in the next session. What is box model, the margin and padding. You can add padding to your div tag, and then it will be centered.
Okay,
Like, is there